I think that martial arts is for everybody. Anybody could do martial arts. That's the thing about this. You can have world champions, UFC caliber fighters, and you can have anybody just that comes off the street could actually participate in this sport and the art that it is. And if anybody comes out there and competes, that takes a lot. Like, just to get out there on the floor.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome. It's another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. Today, I'm joined by Alex Reyes. Alex, so glad you're here, man. Been looking forward to talking to you for a long time. But for those of you out there who might be new, make sure you check out whistlekick.com. It's where we have all the things that we do, all of our products, our events, our content, our books, all that stuff. And why do we do it all? To connect, educate, and entertain the traditional martial artists of the world. Wherever you are, no matter what you train, we're here to support you. whistlekickmartialartsradio.com is where you want to go for this episode and every other episode. We're coming up on episode 1000 super fast. Transcripts, links, all that good stuff is over there. So make sure you check that out. But Alex, hey man, thanks for being here.
Power, baby. Thanks. Yes, you don't have to say it. You don't have to say it.
Okay. I wanted to see if that's how you were going to start, but I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to influence whether or not you did. And I'm so excited that that's how you kicked us off. And for those of you who might not be familiar with Alex's content, that's how he starts every video. And I love it. It sets a tone when you're watching. When I'm watching, no matter what I'm watching, I feel like there's a tone of respect that you have, no matter what it is you're filming. It doesn't matter if it's the most advanced adult, world record breaking attempt or a youth underbelt doing a form that, let's face it, maybe they're not doing such a great job at it, but you show everybody that same respect. You kick off your videos in the same way. How did you end up with that, man?
Well, man, that goes so far back, but I'm not going to give you the long story. But I've always, just a short story of it is I always have been into catchphrases because I was a big WWE fan, right? WWF. And my brother coming up were kind of like that, just catchphrases. So when I would fight, I had catchphrases too. And then, the power started back in 2013 when I started my channel, my page and stuff. And then, and then it just evolved to now us power, baby, because the us, like, we're showing respect, like you see that all at tournaments and everything. And then like power, baby, that's just been, my catchphrase was power, and then it turned into power, baby, and then I just put the us in there. And I think it's become an awesome thing. And like going back to what you said, like showing respect and appreciating everything, like that's just how I am. I'm a positive person. And and I think that martial arts is for everybody. Anybody could do martial arts. That's the thing about this. You can have world champions, UFC caliber fighters, and you can have anybody just that comes off the street could actually participate in this in our in this sport and the art that it is. And and if anybody comes out there and competes, that takes a lot. Like, just to get out there on the floor, just from me, when I was competing and also my students that compete, it takes a lot, especially now in these days that it's a different culture to get up and compete. It takes a lot to get up there and compete. So I show the respect there no matter what, you know what I'm saying? And everybody learns a different way. And, martial arts is kind of like, almost like, in many ways it's similar to a religion too, right? Like religion in a way. So people are always saying, I'm right, you're wrong. So there's so many different interpretations of things. And like, so I could just appreciate the way they learned it. I'm not going to question them either. Like, so that's kind of like where that came from pretty much too. And just the us power, baby, came out, that's pretty much. And that had another part that I had to do it. I'm being totally transparent is also, and this is a free tip to anybody out there listening. When you're doing videos, and you want to be monetized, sound and sight need to be original. So, it's original. Adding the voiceover makes everything 100% even more original. So that's a tip right there, guys, for you guys. So I added, because I used to post videos, just do the performances, and make the description. That I started adding that in there just to make it even better, to enhance the content, which you're always trying to build, make it better. So, but yeah, and it's just become a thing now. And like, I'm making shirts, people are asking me, us power baby, all like that. We have a lot of cool concepts. Like, they're not like us power baby, they ain't like us, so we're coming, it's starting to become like fun. People are coming up to me at tournaments and having me like do a cameo with them saying us
Yeah.
power baby. So it's, it's crazy. I never thought it was going to get to that point, but it's just the growth of the sport and the page and everything. It's just, sometimes you just flow with it,
You're being humble here, but I think it's more than that. It's you're showing up. You're showing up to these events, and at some point, I imagine early on, you were making negative dollars showing up at these
Oh
events,
yeah, yeah.
but you were doing it because you loved it, and it is so clear that you love the competitive side of martial arts, and people can feel that, right? You watch these videos, and I see your videos often, and I try not to look at the comments because it's the internet, right? And trolls and everything.
That's what Joe Rogan said. Don't look at the comments.
Don't look at the comments. But what comes through every time when you do this voiceover is you're genuinely supporting these people. You didn't just film it, because if it was just the filming, yeah, like you said, you can just throw that video up. But you're talking about people positively. I see videos that go up. Somebody that I've watched come up. I've known her for quite a few years, Katie McMillan, right?
Oh,
like
yeah, Katie. Yeah.
I've known Katie since she was regional.
Wow, for real.
And watching someone like her who's come up, and watching the way hearing you watching her, right? Like, I can hear it in your voice. You're enjoying yourself. You dig watching what these people do. And for people who have not been in the competitive side of traditional martial arts, and especially not at the high levels, you may not understand what it's like out there. It's a very interesting culture, because it's both incredibly competitive,
yeah,
but also incredibly supportive.
Yeah, it is
at the same time.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, Katie. It's crazy you mentioned Katie, because I even sponsor her for tournaments too, and she was part of my team at the beginning, when the team that never happened because the sponsor fell through. But so and and yeah, like, I'm in there with these guys at tournaments. I'm there with them. They know me. We're friends. So I try to, my passion. I'm supporting them. And I do. As far as going back into the comments thing, right now, usually I kind of like I disable comments for all the kids. I disable comments for a lot of the women too, and then basically the men. We're guys. We could take it more than anything. So but I've had thoughts about disabling everything, but at the same time, it's because it doesn't affect it too. Some people may think the more engagement, the better. If it's just a good video, it gets pushed. So the comments are like 10% of the growth of everything, how I see it. Because if you look at the views, the likes, the shares, right, that that supersedes, shadows the negative, the comments. And I think that the people are going in there, sometimes the negative people are, because they see how it's growing and they want to throw shade at it. They're haters. They're just being haters at whoever is there. So they're just putting, like, I put Ariel Torres in there, and he's a Olympic gold medalist. Not gold medalist. And they type saying he can't do karate. So it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, the comments, like I said, don't look at the comments. And also, like Facebook, they recommend it to when you're doing well. They recommend it to new people. So that's a good thing. That's how the page is growing. But at the same time, it could show it to people that they know, that Facebook likes engagement too. That's how they push things, right? They push it to people that are known for talking crap or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's almost like, because it doesn't really happen as much as in TikTok and in YouTube, I noticed. But they do it for engagement. They put the people to go in there, but it's just a small percentage. And I think the overall growth shows the positivity of it. Like, right, this is a good thing that's happening, and like, more money's coming into the sport now. There's big
Yes.
tournament with $45,000, 31,000. I talked to some big guy. I can't name him because they have NDAs, but there's something big coming in the future, and
Yes.
largely because of we're putting eyes on this sport. Views equals money. Views
Yep.
brings in money for everybody. Spect promoters, uh, competitors to get sponsored, pages for all of us, even for people like us that are in the martial arts industry. We're putting the spotlight on the sport. And like you said at the beginning, I started this in 2013, you know, and you know, it wasn't for money. It was actually, how I started it, how it all started. I'm
No.
gonna tell you real quick. Um, it all started because me and my brother, we were those WWE guys with the
Mm.
bad boys. Me and Manny were always the bad boys. Just villains in a way, and we liked it, right? We liked being the villains, but that came with a little bit of backlash. Like we would go to tournaments, win the overall grands, team fighting, and I'm talking about Battle of Atlanta, U.S. Opens, beat Paul Mitchell,
Mm.
and then there's no footage of it at all. So we're being blacklisted. You know what? I'm just gonna say by sport martial arts. I don't care,
Mhm.
right? I said it, right? Because it's true. The reason why I started Point Fighter Live, one of the reasons was because of that. We're not getting no love. We're being basically blacklisted. So I said, let me get a camera and start recording myself. And
So they were, and I'm not going to make you keep
yeah,
saying it, and the
yeah,
my interest is not
yeah.
stirring the pot or anything, but I
Okay.
just want to make sure I'm clearly understanding. That organization was just not, they were pretending you didn't exist.
Basically, and
Okay.
going back even to promotion, you know, my dad has a Pan American Internationals, and even the
Oh, okay.
promotion side, right? Even the promotion side, my dad would pay them $2,500 for promotion, and it's almost like they had favorites. You'll see WKU, WKC,
Hmm.
Diamond Nationals, and I'm like, and I kept asking him, is there another tier that we could pay for to make the same? So it wasn't. So that kind of made me be like, damn, it's not fair. And they were pretty much the only ones at that time. So then, I get along with all of them too. Like Mallory Woods, Hunter, everybody there. The only one I've had some issues with was Emily Cooper. Just we had issues and whatever from when competing and stuff. But I guess maybe that was the reason why. So then that's when it all kind of happened. And
Mm.
then also not, it's kind of a mix, a mixture of things, because also in 2013 I was almost out of the sport too. I was kind of like going through a divorce and stuff,
Mm.
and like so my I wasn't sponsoring the team as much because of the money. So then ASG came, Jason Chen, and said, I'm going to
Hmm.
give you a team. So that kind of put me back actively again on the circuit too. So all that combination kind of in 13
Mm.
was a perfect storm. In November of 2013, me and my friend Steve Hart were like, man, we always talk about karate stuff too, right? Well, we were starting to post videos and stuff already. I was,
Hmm.
and I told my friend, we always talk about karate matchups. Imagine if we do it like on a show and we did it with Blog Talk Radio over the phone, and we
Yeah, I
only
remember
listen
that.
on the phone, right? I don't know if you heard of that Blog Talk Radio. And then
Yep.
we will have one listen, then 5 listens, then 30 listens, and then before you know it, it started blowing up. And then
Hmm.
we started doing the lives, and then so yeah, it kind of like formed like with all these things happening. But really, at the beginning, it was just from the beginning, just like anything, it's just passion, like you said. I was just doing it to put the sport out there, to make sure my stuff is out there. And then I was like, let me start filming this person, let not just make it about me, about that. And then eventually I made it to where I don't film anything about me now. You know what I'm saying? So I just would a lot of the behind it was because I just wanted footage of myself,
I
and
get
then
it.
just it just evolved into this. And then I went to a tournament, and I said, let me like work it like a tournament, like covering it, and I did it for free. And then from there, promoters just say, hey, can you do that for me? For you do that for me. Now we have 150 tournaments that we promote. So
That's
yeah,
great.
that's pretty much the story on that. And as far as going back to sport martial arts, I'm cool. Me and Emily actually spoke this year, and I like what they're doing. They're doing a great job. I'm
Yep.
not even a competition with them. If anything, I thank them for helping me be where I'm
Yep.
at. Right, and there's plenty of room for everybody.
Yeah.
People ask me this competition of yours, and I'm like, no, it's not competition. The more eyes that are on sport martial arts, open sport martial
Yep.
arts is better. So I'm glad now there's Jackson has Sport Karate Zone too
Hmm.
that just focuses on that. That, he was working with Black Belt Magazine. Black Belt Magazine was actually covering karate, so that was great. And there's other Black and Blue videos been around for a long time. So it's like it's great. We need more Martial Arts Inter Network. I'm giving a shout
Yes.
out to them just to you guys are doing a great job, and I think we actually
Thank you.
need more for the sport to grow because
Uh,
that's how the money comes in. It
I
becomes a
agree.
real sport.
Completely agree. Where does Burger King set up every restaurant? Right? Not
Next,
as far away from a
next to
McDonald's as they can
McDonald's.
get, right across the street, right? And there's a whole, and we see this in a lot of industries, but we're talking about martial arts. And it's one of the things I'll always tell people is look, if you've got another martial arts school across the street, across town, whatever, they're not competition.
Yeah.
They're doing stuff. Maybe it's even similar, or maybe it's completely different. But what if you put your marketing dollars together? What if you turned your town into the martial arts town? And now you get more people coming in, right? Because rising tide lifts all ships, right? And I go back to that McDonald's Burger King thing. You can't tell me, people
Yeah.
can't tell me that Burger King and McDonald's franchising and corporate is so dumb that they don't know where to put their restaurants,
Yeah,
right? Like these are global multi-billion-dollar companies.
that's
They know
crazy.
what they're doing. They're doing it intentionally because everybody makes more money that way.
That's true. Hey, and you know what? Going back to even when it's all the same really in life. Competition makes you better,
Mm-hmm.
right? It keeps you. I don't want to be the only one either.
Right.
I want people to grow. It made me being bigger and wanting to stay bigger. I also did the magazine, Point Fighter Life magazine that
Mm-hmm.
we're doing. We're gonna have one issue come out soon. We've had
Cool.
trading cards, just different ideas to keep getting better. Just competing, right? Competing is good, but it's not really competing. At the end of the day, it's you like you said, like down here, if I had rivals like Murphy Gonzalez and all the people that we were rivals in Miami, and then we go out to the nationals and we're like, hey, there's like 4 or 5 good teams from Miami. Wow. And then when we're there, we're like brothers. We're cheering for each other. We're competing against each other here, and we're out there, we're supporting each other. So, like you just said, it makes it an awesome sport karate or martial arts town by
Yeah.
having schools all over. That's a good point, like you just said there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
good.
I want to go back because you came up in competition.
Yeah,
You mentioned your brother, you mentioned your father.
yeah.
Competition, martial arts competition is a family affair, if you will.
Man, yes, man. My
But
dad.
so rewind tape. Let's go way back.
Okay, all
When
right.
did competition start for you?
That is great. That's great. All right, okay. I started competing at about 12, and
Okay.
I didn't like karate before that. No, my dad has a school since 1972,
Okay.
right? And he's a champion. He won the U.S. Open before. He also had the MAO team, which fought Budweiser in on ESPN or Sports Center, right? The Cuban American team. They had a set match and they fought against Budweiser. So he was kind of like a top team guy always too, and had sponsors and stuff. And I didn't like it, but then my brother, I wouldn't want to even go to karate, and they would tell me stay at home and be in your bed and no TV or go to karate, right? And sometimes I would skip karate. I'd say I'd rather take that, right? So, but then what got me hooked was my brother from Metro All Stars, Hector Santiago. He had a Metro All Star team that would always rival against Paul Mitchell, and he got a contract and a whole box, a package. He had his uniform, the sweats, the hats, multiple uniforms, gear bag, jackets, hoodies, shirts, and a plane ticket, and just with a bonus already. And I'm like, I remember that like it was yesterday. I'm sitting in
Mhm.
my parents' house in the table, and I'm sitting across from him because he was having my mom record him, like sign the contract and stuff, And I was like, that got me hooked. From there, I went to karate, and I was behind because I was like a purple belt at that time, right?
Because you saw it could take you somewhere. You saw that there was a path.
I saw him. Yeah, I saw him. He's
Yeah.
gonna travel, and he's traveling. He's sponsored by a team, and like I want to do that. I'm like that. That got my attention in the martial arts, the competitive side, right? And then And then and then I ended up teaching too. I never thought I would fall in love with it that much, but that made me fall in love with martial arts, where then I learned, I wanted to soak it all in, and and then competing. I started fighting my brother. He would beat me up because the kids my age were beating me, and then my brother was like, "You want to get better than them? Fight me," and he would beat the hell out of me, right? And
How much older is your brother?
4 years, 4 years.
4 years.
So, yeah, so you're talking about 12. He's like 16,
Yeah, it's a big difference
and,
though.
Yeah, and he was an adult fighter. He started fighting adults at like 15. So that's why he was on Metro. He was on Metro actually at 17 years old, because he wasn't even 18 yet, right, when he was fighting and winning titles already. Just he was that good. So he was like, but his mentality was like, fight better people, so by the time you get to there, you're gonna be better. So he moved me up to black belt as well, right? And he fought me. So that made me better, I think. And then when I started fighting kids my own age, after fighting him for a few months, they were easy, so that got me better. And then from there, I watched the teams aspect of it. My also in the back of my, I don't remember too much of my dad, but I remember traveling and going there, and that had to like subconsciously impact me, because I ultimately became like my father. Exactly. Like I opened up a school. I had my own teams since 2000. When did I start sponsoring teams? Oh man, I started sponsoring. I think it was like I was like 20, whatever, right? I started sponsoring teams, and with my own money, right? People will think this is crazy, but I spent $120,000 of my own money without having a house, without being financially successful. It's just I was always a giver, and I wanted to have a team, and that's how much the sport meant to me. That I wanted to like be relevant and like win and have my own type of team. So that's kind of when I started with that, with the competition and building up champions. So yeah, I just, that's kind of a summary of it all, just facts of the short version, kind of how it is. So yeah, my brother was the one that really got my attention to do it. Then once I got in there, I fell in love with it. Then I opened up my own school. By the time I was 18, I had champions, teams. I was a coach, sponsor and everything. And then that led me up to Point Fighter Live, Yeah.
That's quite the 180 to go from
Yeah.
being 12 and disliking martial arts so much that you'd rather stay in bed and do nothing on at least some nights, to just 6 years later, you're opening a school, you're investing in the industry.
Thank God my dad made me too. Thank God they made me kind of in a way. They say you have to do something. So thank God that they made me. If not, if they wouldn't have kind of forced me in there, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. That's crazy, right?
Right. Yeah, and so let's talk about that for a minute, because one of the things that we talk about as an industry right now is, you see these quotes pushed around in the school owners groups. Kids don't quit karate, parents quit karate. Right? How do you feel about that? Should parents be pushing their kids to remain in martial arts more often?
I think that when it comes to parents, with me, the first thing I tell a parent when they walk in is, hey, watch, observe, and just tell them good job or whatever. Don't tell them their mistakes. Hey, do this, get lower, try harder, because then it takes away from the fun. It's you turning it into a job. So I tell them, don't tell them anything, and when they go home, that's the first thing I tell them. Say, well, how do you like it? What you learned today? Don't tell them anything of how they could improve. So yeah, so then parent, and then also going back to what we're talking now, at the same time, I could see a kid if they like it or not. Like I tell the parent, a kid when they start, they like it, and then they start to like go down. But at the beginning, when they're so pumped up, I even prep the parents up. I say, hey, look, they love it now, and part of martial arts to get into black belt is like a big life goal, right? In the future, you could compare getting a black belt to getting a degree, being married, right? Having a good relationship, a good career, right? Because it's gonna get hard. You like it. I tell my parents they love it right now. So remember, this proves that they do like it, right? They're coming here, they want to do it, they've been here. But once they start getting into the blues, in the middle, I call it the blues, right? In the middle, the intermediate levels, that's when you start to be like maybe a little bit bored of it. It's taking too long. I'm not good enough. Those type of things start to. I want to maybe do this or that, right? So I kind of set them up for the feelings that are gonna come up with their kids in the future, and I go, and that's when it's the hardest. A marathon is the hardest in the middle, right?
Mm.
The beginning you take off, and at the end you see the finish line, and you're like, phew, the hard part's in the middle. If you teach your kids to stay here in the middle, when I go, they may love it all the way to black. That happens, but most people in the middle are like, they start to have those feelings. And I go, and if you could teach them to make it through the middle, you're setting them up for success in the future. Like I tell them that at the beginning,
Yep.
so that it doesn't work all the time because people quit, but at least I feel good telling them that because I'm giving their parents a life lesson there too, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it's something that I think the whole industry deals with. It's something I deal with at my school. This idea
Yeah.
that you know kids, and not just kids, people experience a little bit of adversity with maybe their schedule gets a little busier or they're tired or whatever, and this thing that they set out to do, martial arts, because they saw all the benefits, and especially early on, right? They're seeing the positive changes it's making in their life.
Mhm.
And then they say, I'm going to stop doing this thing that's great for me because it got a little more difficult. And, you know, it, what are they teaching themselves, right? They're teaching themselves to quit when it gets hard. And that's the opposite of martial arts.
Yes, man. Yeah, that's it. But it's a type. If the it's a at time that we're in now, right? It's different.
Yeah.
Times are different right now. So really now, you know, kids are more in control of their
Mm-hmm.
parents. And it comes from love in a way. Like my generation, our generation, in a way, it's like at least for me, my parents, it's hard to even hug them or say I love you. I don't know, because they didn't grow up that way either. I don't know if a lot of people are like that, but from down here, or maybe Hispanics down here are in a way. I'm not sure how the demographics work with that, but like I come from a generation where it's like hard to do that. So I would figure a lot of other people are like that too. So now this generation doesn't want to be like that generation. So they're giving so much love, but they're just doing it with too much where the kids, you can't have their hand now, the whole way. Like there's kids coming to there's 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds now going to interviews and their parents are there supporting them, being there while the while the business owners
Yeah.
interviewing the kids. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck is this? And I've seen business owners tell me that too and say, if I see a parent come in with a kid, I don't hire them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, that society where it's at right now. And I feel like this society now, it's gonna be a middle. There's got to be a balance. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Where there's love, but also a little bit of tough love, where you teach them that they got to earn what they have, and that's
Yeah.
now what's happening. They're not. It's not being kind of earned in a way. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
When we take a look at martial arts instruction, there are a lot of parallels with raising kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have kids of my own, but there's something I heard from somebody once, probably 10, 15 years ago, and it changed my perspective on my childhood, my upbringing, and how I engage with people when I train them. The job of a parent is not to raise a child; it's to raise an adult, right? You're
Yes.
trying to get that kid to launch and be self-sufficient at some point. And that is ultimately, that should be our job as martial arts instructors, that at some point they're going to take their martial arts back out into the world
Yeah.
and use it in a good way, whether that's because they open their own school or because they're the CEO of a company and their discipline and their respect and all the other soft skills that they have,
Yeah.
or maybe because heaven forbid they get into a confrontation and they're able to protect themselves or someone they love. And I think quite often, what you're talking about parents that are so focused on love, they're forgetting their job.
Yeah.
And I think there are plenty of martial arts instructors that forget their job, that they want those people to be students
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
only students forever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and our job as martial artists too, which it's I think that martial arts instructors, if you could do this, you know how they say, if you could be here, how that song with Sinatra, right? You can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I think that
Yeah.
because when you go to a restaurant, the food's the same. The waiters, of course, is a customer service that plays a
Mhm.
role. But with us, every there's different people, like there's different ways to motivate kids, and you're teaching in a class. Because let me break it down. There's a kid that can get motivated by saying, hey, good job, Johnny, let's go, keep it going. Even if they didn't do it as good, but you're like pumping them up. But then there's kids that you tell them that, and they're like, yeah, I know, and they kind of get like, oh, I'm too good for this, right? So but they react good to, you can't do that, you can do it. You let me see if you could do it. Let's see who's the best at this. Then that gets their attention, and they want that, right? But then if you tell that other kid the same thing, they may be like, "Oh, I can't do it." You're right. You know what I'm saying? So some
Mhm.
kids, so everybody needs a different type of motivation in a way, and it's our job as the instructor to figure it out and bring out the best of them, right? If we want to be the best of ourselves, not just teach one way with everybody, but we are doing it at the same time. So that makes it even harder to be able to be like, we're basically helping them in their way, our way, right? And everybody's together. So I think that is a big thing with us, that we make, martial artists. All of us have to do that stuff. You know what I mean? There's nobody
Mhm.
that just teaches and says, "This is my way. If you don't like it, get out of here." I think that Cobra Kai thing doesn't really exist now in these days. We're here
It's
to
less
help.
common. It's still there. I'm sorry to say that I know some schools like that. But it's not the norm.
Yeah, it's not the norm. Yeah, but there are schools like that. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there are some schools like that. Yeah,
But the internet, right? And
yeah,
and you're part of this. I'm part of this. This wave of internet martial arts exposure
yeah,
has meant that people can't get away with that anymore.
yeah.
You know,
That's,
I
yeah, you're
when
right. That's true.
pre-internet, somehow a lot of people, over half of the martial artists, ended up at schools that miraculously taught the most effective form of martial arts ever developed on the planet, right? How everybody lucked out into that, I'll never know. But that's not what I hear people saying anymore, right?
Yeah, man.
Now it's and you see a lot more cross training, a lot more incorporation of other principles,
Wow,
and
wow,
and you know and
wow.
and I think that we're on the verge. And tell me what you think of this. We're roughly the same age. I think as our instructors' generation, as they start to pass away, it's us opening these schools and teaching these people with these more open minded ideals. And what's going to happen to martial arts as styles and as competition and everything when
Yeah.
everybody's going, oh, how do we combine this? How do we put this together? How do we share these ideas?
Well, I think it's good. I think it's like evolution. It evolves, and
Yeah.
of course you want to keep that tradition in there. But even at Parker, which I'm Kempo, my dad was his first generation student of Ed
Mm.
Parker, and he said that's why when he died, really there was nobody that took over. He wanted it to evolve and let it go. He says that martial arts will always keep evolving,
Mhm.
including his system. So he knew that in the future, the Kempo techniques would have. Uh, Maybe some jujitsu in it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like he kind of said it like that on purpose in a way. So I think that, but of course you got to be careful with everything because you will still want to keep the traditional stuff. You want to keep that traditional in there, the tradition in there. You know what I mean? And not water it down as well. So
Right.
at the
So
same time, so it has to be a good evolution. With the
you're a
right.
perfect person to ask about that
Yeah,
then, right? Because
yeah,
a lot of people would look at maintaining that traditional aspect of whatever art you're training in and then see competition, which, let's face it, certainly not everyone, but quite a bit of what goes on for a lot of people in competition is non-traditional. It's a bit counter, right? And you love both. I can see it in the way you're talking. How do you reconcile that? How do you make sure
well,
both can exist?
well, well, look, there's just more, right? More divisions. Like, look, NASCA now has um, divisions. There's a traditional division, but
Hmm.
really, you can make up a kata that looks traditional, right?
Hmm.
But it's made up. But people were complaining about that, but they listen, and now they got the traditional challenge, and there's a Korean challenge where you have to do the kata. You have to do a real kata in the in that in the in the style.
Mm.
So that doing stuff like that keeps it in line with the traditional, and there's traditional judges that know the forms. That's how you kind of keep it in traditional and these open sport martial arts leagues, right? So because and then you see the other side could keep evolving with CMX and
Mm-hmm.
creative extreme and just Hollywood style stuff, right? So I think that's cool. There's something for everybody. Literally,
Mm-hmm.
there's just more divisions that they're adding, and more and more and more. So I really like that, and then also, if you think about it, we're called sport karate, but it's really should be. That's one thing that I like about sport martial arts, right,
Yeah.
Emily? It's called it. This is really sport martial arts, is what we're doing. So, and I kind of like to call it. I changed it up a little. Open sport martial arts, because it's open.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been actually, when I post and I say it, I've been saying it even more, because it's not limited to just karate, and that, because I think that has an effect on what people are seeing too. When I
Yeah.
call it sport karate, and they're like, "That's not karate." Right, but if you call it open sport martial arts, that's really what this is. It's open sport martial arts, which is open to everybody, and there's categories for everybody, right? So I think that's I think we need a name change in sport karate. It needs to be open sport martial arts,
I
because then that
I
gets people.
agree.
Because then also, because look, there's tournaments. Look, if you want to really get even more traditional, go to WK. I consider this all one universe,
Mm-hmm.
right? Kumite is similar to point fighting, but it's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Kumite is limited to, not limited, but it's karate, so it's only the karate techniques, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but if you see that in our sport, it's open to everybody. So there's going to be taekwondo influence, so
Right.
it's going to look different, right? That's what I tell people sometimes that comment. They're like, "That's not what kind of karate is it?" It's a universal system, But people still have those options if they don't like it. Go to WKF tournaments. Go
Mm-hmm.
to go to Taekwondo, AAU, whatever
Mm-hmm.
tournaments that there are. If you just want to stick with one style, and then that's where, if you really want it to be really traditional, go to those things, and everybody there is doing what you're doing exactly, and that makes it less. If you don't like what's going on in the open sport martial arts world, you go to that, and that's it. I think that really, and I don't hate on it. And there's actually people that are doing both, and they appreciate both. I appreciate it
Yes.
all, pretty much with
Yeah.
that. So I like where it's evolving. I like the evolution of the other stuff that's happening, and I like that the fact that there's still. I think there's really a lot of people that want to keep it traditional, and there's options really for everybody. So I say, what's wrong with having a lot of options, right? That's good. Yeah,
We're on the exact
yeah,
same
man.
page
Yeah,
with that for sure. And you bring up something that I'm hopeful a lot of people in the competitive space will watch this video because you're part of it. And I want to underscore something that you said, because my view is that martial arts should be bigger. When we look at what we do and the benefits that it has, there should be more people participating. And what people may not realize is in the US, we have half the participation of global
wow.
participation. We have fewer people in the US.
Yeah.
And we're not limited as a company. We're not
Wow,
just in
really?
the US, but most of our audience is American. And one of the things that I think creates that is we will use generic terms, or terms that we are using generically. We'll use sport karate when we really mean sport martial arts.
Yeah.
And how does the Taekwondo practitioner feel when they're being told they're doing sport karate?
Yeah.
How does the
Yeah.
how does somebody who's training in Filipino martial arts feel when we're using the
Yes.
term dojo generically, right? And so that's one of the things that I work really hard with our team to make sure that when we do anything at Whistlekick, we don't use karate,
Yeah.
dojo, sensei as the generic terms. We will
Yeah.
use English. It's a
Yes.
school, it's an instructor, it is
Yes.
martial arts, because then it's inclusive for everyone.
Yeah. There you go. That's it, man. Yeah, that's true. 100%. That's the way it should be, really. But we get used to just saying what we see, and
Mm-hmm.
when we're told, like, that hit me this year. I've been doing this. I've been going to these tournaments for all these years, and it never hit me till this year. I was like, it's really should be, because I guess I was doing a voiceover, and I'm like, it's Taekwondo Pumse, and I'm like, oh, up next, oh, it's power baby. Up next, we have a Taekwondo Pumse performance. here at this sport karate tournament. I'm like, no, it's got to be. Well, that makes no sense, right? That makes no
Right.
sense. So I said, all right, open sport martial arts tournament, and that's it. So yeah,
Well,
it should be.
we can
Yeah,
both keep saying it, and we'll get people to
yeah, we're
change
gonna
how they're
change it.
doing it. We can make it more inclusive and
Yeah,
get more
yeah,
people
man,
doing
for
it.
sure. Yeah,
So what's your long term vision for the brand? You mentioned magazine. You know,
yeah,
you
man.
do a
Wow,
bunch of things,
man, yeah.
but where do you want to take this? What's the goal?
Right now, I'm 47, and I want to build this thing up as big as I can, and I just have a feeling the more I build it, I know. Well, I already had an offer from somebody to buy it
Nice,
already,
nice.
right? So, but I want to build it even bigger because I know somebody's gonna come. I know a TV network, somebody's gonna come. I know it. I can feel
Hmm.
it because the views and the followers, it brings the attention, right?
Hmm.
That's money. So,
Right.
so I have a feeling somebody's gonna approach me one day and say, "Hey, I want to buy you out," and then I'll have some decisions to make. I don't think I would ever want to do that. Really, the only way I would opt to doing something like that if I see it's going to help grow the sport more, right? And if they bring me on and hire me as well for at least
Hmm.
a few years on it, so I can help them grow it through there too. I want to be part of it. So I want to build from the beginning. I want to put this sport on the map. That's what I've been saying since my first podcast. I want to put this sport on the map. I want people to be household names,
Hmm.
uh, and I have a a blueprint right now. Right now, my next step is going to be to help. I'm already doing very well with this. We have the brand, so and I'm helping people. I love to help people. Going back to where I would sponsor a team and have barely no money for myself, right? So, and now my karate school, I have people teaching for me. I'm
Hmm.
only going there like once a week, and felt I never thought about how good it'll feel to do that for people, give opportunities to them,
Hmm.
and like basically, I make like $1,000 in profit in my school. Basically, the school is for them right now. So I love that I'm doing that, and I just want to give more. And it's been a hard ride to get here too. This wasn't just let me start here. I've been demonetized. I've been hacked. Um, they took $20,000 from my payout account, from my payout on Facebook. I got demonetized, and I had to start over. If you notice, there's two Facebook pages, one with almost 2 million and one with almost 800,000, 700 and something thousand, because that page that happened, and I had to basically start over on Facebook there. And
Huh.
that's when I grew to YouTube. That's when I said I have all my eggs in one basket. Let me go to
Right.
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and now I built a new page up. I got YouTube going, TikTok, we're over 100,000 and all those things,
Hmm.
and now actually 2 weeks ago, God blessed me with bringing that page back. So now I got that page back again. So it's like
Oh,
icing on
nice.
the cake, But it's been such a hard road to get here, and I feel like I think that I was never religious until last year, right?
Mm.
I don't want to throw this stuff too much on you guys, but my life changed ever since I started, praying and believing, reborn again. I'm a born again, basically Christian,
Mm.
and
Nice.
since that's happened, I feel like um, God doesn't talk to me, but through me, and I
Mm.
feel like I'm here to do a lot of good, and it takes money, and I feel like by building this brand up to where I want it to be is gonna open up so much for me to help the world because
Hmm.
there's a lot of things going on in the world with human trafficking and stuff like that, and like I want to be part of that to help. That's my ultimate goal. Is when I be remembered, I want to be remembered as a good human,
Mm.
not as somebody that built this karate thing. You know what I'm saying? But
I
this
do.
is a tool that God's given me, and it's taken me a long time to get here. Um, you know, through trial and error
Hmm.
and failing,
So
right?
what happens when you're doing something nobody's
It,
done before?
but I feel like it's been done. Though it's ran its course the way it's gone. Like for me, I wish I would have been here faster and to go through where I was at, where I'm making 30, 20 to 50,000 a month, 2 years ago, and then get hacked to just making money in karate. That was hard, right? But I did it again, and I feel like God did that to me almost to humble me, because I was maybe a little bit not, that was new money. That new money was coming in, and that before that I had no money. In 2020, I started posting videos, boom, 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 and I bought a house, vacations, car, boom. I'm all that, right? And then I feel like then this thing happened to me and it humbled me, right? And I still had money from going to tournaments because I covered tournaments too, so I didn't lose it all. But it humbled me, right? And I feel like I needed it, and that's when now all of a sudden this year it started blowing up. Like it started actually blowing up in May again, for real, where I was starting to make back to being Alex that was in 2020, right? So and in May of 2020, this year 24, I owed 15,000 in debt after having 50 grand in the bank saved 2 years ago, right? I had 15,000 in debt, and I was almost like, you know what, I'm telling you, I was like, I was telling my friend Ozzy that he's here, my cameraman. You know what? Maybe this isn't for me. I should just, because at this point I already, I didn't get in it for the money, but at this point I made money, and to lose the money and then just, you want it. Once you have a taste of it, you want it. So I'm like, you know what? I even was like, maybe God's telling me, just stick to teaching karate and building karate, the school. That's who you are, and then do this on the side for fun. I was actually accepting basically that, and then all of a sudden we go to Atlantic City to a tournament up there, a breaking tournament. And on the way back, this was days after I said that, right? And on the way back, I hit a viral on that new page, because I started that other page now that has 700,000 last October. So not only in May it had 3,000 followers, right? So from May to now, it's gotten 700,000 followers. TikTok over 130,000. YouTube, we got the plaque. And you know what? That week, I read a Bible story, right, about Peter, right? I'm not gonna get too much into it. He was a man of God, and he did everything he could. He couldn't do it no more. And then that's when God said, "Okay, you've done all you can. Let's go take the smallest boat." And boom, and they come back with all this fish for everybody, right? So I heard that. It's crazy how it happened at the same time, It's almost like that's how God talks through me. He's like, here, you can no more. I got you. I'm going to hit you with abundance. Boom. And all of a sudden that week, I'm getting emotional. Sorry.
No, take your time, man.
It's going to be good for ratings. Power baby, yes.
You are not even close to the first person that's cried on this show, man.
So
I'm honored that you're being that open.
Dude, so dude, all of a sudden, May 17, I'm 15,000 in debt. That's when I say I can't no more. I read that about May 18, and I didn't realize what I read it, and I was like, just all right. And I saw it, right? Because I also see my pastor, Stephen Furtick, right? He's a great pastor that I listen to online. So all of a sudden, in 10 days, I made $20,000 in 10 days. And then that video shows up for me again. And I'm like, that was for me. And that's it. And like, I was empty and I couldn't no more. And then boom. And I really feel like God was working through me, and that's it.
The last thing I'm going to do is discount the faithful component. But there's another component here that is martial arts, and that's discipline, right? How many people when they had doubt would have just stopped, right? They would have canceled what they were doing. They would have just hard on the brakes.
Jeremy,
and you kept going, even though it was hard, even though you were unsure.
It was. it was
because
hard. It was, yeah,
it's what you're like, I don't know, but I'm going to keep doing this because this is the thing that I've been doing, right? And that's what discipline is, right? Discipline helps us get through these difficult parts where you can't see. It's being in the middle of the ocean. I can't see where I started. I can't see where I'm going, but I need to trust that I'm going to get there.
yeah,
And I think for a lot of people, myself included,
yeah,
there's absolutely a
yes,
component of faith in there.
true.
But even if you there's nothing wrong with the martial arts side of it, right? There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
no, that's true.
with
That giving
grinding it
up,
out
that,
and the
yeah,
discipline that
yeah,
comes from
the
that.
never giving up part.
Yeah.
Even my wife told me, hey, maybe you should give it up. This is bad for you because I'm working at this point. I'm working from 5 to 9. I'm also going to the school. So I have to do everything before 2 o'clock. So it took a toll on my body too.
Yeah.
I gained weight. I'm trying to lose it now. So but I never, everybody around me, just my best friend that I started Point Fighter Radio with, was like, bro, you've been saying you're gonna get it back for 2 years, and nothing's happened. Like he would even make fun of me, and just I never gave up, even when I said, like, I was just like accepting her. God, this is what you have for me. I'm gonna, that money's not gonna come. It's okay, I accept it, and that's when it came. But I never was gonna give up. Like I was still gonna keep doing my thing. I wasn't just gonna be like, so needing that, but yeah, true martial arts, it brought that, the never give up. That's what I always tell my kids, or try hard, never give up, believe in yourself, right? And that's it. And have faith too, and be positive, right? I say be positive when I'm in school, but to other people I say have faith, because that's what being positive
Mm.
is, being faithful,
Yeah.
having faith. So yeah, man. But
There's one more thing I want to point at, because we may have some folks watching or listening, and they heard the numbers, right? And I think it's really easy. And as a business owner and as someone who pays attention to social media,
yes,
we live in this time where people assume that financial success in business comes quickly, and that if it doesn't come quickly, there's something wrong with you or your business or anything. And what people forget is that the stories that are plastered all over the place as being, these quick hit successful businesses,
yeah,
those are the minority. And so what I'm hearing, I heard you started Point Fighter in 2013. But why were you able to start Point Fighter in 2013? Because how much time had you had in on the circuits, meeting people, having connections, right? So this success that you're seeing, this is 20, 30,
um,
35 years in the making. People forget that.
that's true, man.
It's a grind. It is hard work.
It is.
And if you're willing to invest and stay disciplined, you can do things. And it's one of the things I think martial artists we have over a lot of other people in the world is we're used to doing hard things.
Yeah.
We know that the better we get, the harder it gets.
Yes. True. Man, that's so true. And yeah, and doing something else in there, I just thought about. I was gonna say my part of the next thing with Point Fighter Live too is I'm gonna help. Now that I'm doing good again, right? I'm sponsoring teams now again. I'm sponsoring individuals,
That's great.
silent sponsoring. I'm giving back. I'm sponsoring breaking tournaments. I'm hosting some breaking tournaments. My next is gonna be, because I want this all eyes on us.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about every sport, their Sports Center, ESPN, whatever that,
Mm-hmm.
Fox Sports, that's a platform. But then you have to have people, brand names of people, household names, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my next thing. I'm working with certain individuals, and I give them tips to blow up their channels, right? I'm kind of like doing a free coaching for them,
Nice.
right? Because I thought about coaching and charging for it, but I want to, maybe in the future, but I want to first do it for something else to get. Because
Mm.
if you see big tournaments, big pages like mine, uh, big names, that's when the eyes start really seeing that. I want corporate world America to be like, man, let's see this sport. Wow, they're getting millions of views here. Wow, okay. Whoa, Paul Mitchell sponsors it. Army sponsors it. Right. Oh man, look, this is Katie McMillan. Wow,
Yeah.
she has 1 million followers. wow, this is a real sport. People are watching this. I want in. So that's the next step that I think in
You're talking about creating heroes,
creating heroes. Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's the thing
And
that
they can live
we
off
have
of it, and they can
fallen
live.
off
Yeah.
doing.
Hmm.
Right? Who are the biggest names in martial arts?
Hmm.
They're either dead
Yeah.
or they're in the older generation.
Yeah.
We're not doing a great job of lifting people up to a
Exactly.
high level, and individuals like yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to do some of that too, right? When I see someone, and I'm not the only one who has input on who comes on the show, but when I see someone that I think, like, I like what they're doing, I like how they're trying to help martial arts or the world or whatever, let's get them on the show. Let's give them a platform. Let's
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
people about the great stuff that they're doing, and I know you're the same way. You and I have a lot more in common than people may have realized prior to our conversation, but I knew that because I've been paying attention to what you do for a long time.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. No, awesome, man. Yeah, this has been great. No, and congratulations to you guys.
Thank
You
you.
guys are almost in 1,000. Right?
Yeah.
That's this is not easy. What you're doing, you
Yeah.
doing, it's not
It's not.
easy. And you guys
I know
do it
you
a
get it.
great way too. Everything's
Thank you.
awesome and super professional. So
Thank you.
congratulations for sure. For sure. We'll be
Thank you.
pushing.
We'll shout out to the team because they make
Yes.
me look good.
Shout out to the team. Yes, to everybody. You guys are doing an awesome job, and I can't wait to I can't wait to push this for real.
Thank you.
You got a supporter here. I'm gonna be watching all your shows.
I appreciate that. So, for people who've been watching or listening, how do they? I know we've talked about it, but let's make sure it's really clear for them. How do they find you? Website, socials, all
Yeah,
that stuff.
I guess just type in Point Fighter Live
Okay.
everywhere. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook 2 times. Facebook, right? 1.9 million and 107 6,000.
Should they go to the big one or the smaller one?
Both, both.
Both. Okay.
Watch it all, and don't skip the ads. No, I'm just kidding.
We're gonna. You know what? We gotta drop an ad right there, right when you said that. We just.
Power baby. There you go. Hit it. Go.
I love it. I love it. Well, Alex, I'm gonna throw it back to you to close this up in just a moment. But to the audience, thanks for being here. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're still watching, I'm sure that you did. But yeah, definitely check out what Alex is doing with Point Fighter, because it is positive stuff, and we need more of that. And I'm so thankful that you do, Alex. Check us out, whistlekick.com, whistlekickmartialartsradio.com for everything about this episode, every other episode we've done. You can go watch all of them. They're all there. We don't hide any of them from you. So if you're new to what we do, you've got the next few months or years of content ahead of you if you want to go check that out. Alex, how do you want to wrap today? What do you want to leave the audience
I
with?
just want to wrap everything up with telling everybody, to just believe in yourself, and it's okay to fail, right? Failing makes you who you are. It's gonna make you who you are once you get through it. So don't let nobody ever get into your head, and even in your head, don't believe it sometimes. Like Mike Tyson said, you know, uh, your brain is not your friend, right? So your soul, right? Believe in yourself, and you could do it. And failing, take it in as an opportunity, right? Never give up and keep going till you get to your dreams, right? Don't let nobody ever discourage you from it, and just keep going and have passion. And that's really what it's success about. And be honest. And that's it. Be honest, have passion, never give up, and don't forget to power baby. Woo! Yes. Thank you. Yeah, man, and that's how you grow too. That's how you grow.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was my secret with Point Fighter Live when I just started interviewing winners, not just black belt top winners. I started interviewing in underbelts, right, and then just the seniors, the divisions people, and then those people share it more than the stars.
Yes.
And then that gets you the
Yes.
follows and the subscribers. They support it more. So
When we take a look at the numbers from episodes, the biggest episodes are rarely the biggest names.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So that's how I grew. That's one of the secrets on how I grew too. And then also, like you did, it just everybody, right? Like not a bunch of different people, you know, big, smart, and like that's like me. I do all leagues. Like I didn't just stick with NASCAR. That was the
Right.
biggest league. I just went Waco. Anybody, you know, like that was good. Waco, WKU, it doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
me.
There's good people everywhere for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. It's a martial arts universe, bro. It's
It
really lit.
is. It
Yeah, it
is.
is. It's crazy.